Now we'll discuss about sampling terminology. There are some terminology that we use frequently. Population. Population, all item under consideration in universe is called population. Sample, who are representative of the universe. The respondent, who are representative of the universe, called sample. Census survey, it is complete enumeration of all item in the population. It is complete enumeration of all item in the population. Sample design, it's a definite plan. Definite plan for obtaining a sample. Sample method, the method where which we are collecting detail with selected item. The method where which we are collecting detail with selected item, called sample method. The next slide about sample design process. Sample design process, there are mainly 5 points. Define target population to whom we are collecting detail. The next one is determine sampling frame. Determine sampling frame with sample design. Next we have to discuss about selecting sampling technique, probability or non-probability sample, that we have to decide in this point. And the fourth one is how much sample we are going to collect. How we are going to collect, executing sampling process. There are 5 points together called sample design. Number 1, to whom we are collecting detail, target population. Next is determine sample frame. Third, sampling technique. Fourth, how much sample we are collecting, how we are going to collect. So all these points together is called sample design process. The next slide is about steps in sample design. The first step is identify the type of universe, identify our population, and identify our sampling unit. If you are doing if you are working in urban area and doing project in rural area, focusing only rural women, and you have to see whether it is feasible, possibility to continue our research. So identify your sampling. If you are locating in urban and focusing only in urban people, it is feasible. You can collect detail fairly and you can conclude the detail. So identify your sampling unit. Here we are talking about geographical unit. Which state, which district, and which village. Name the village, how much population, everything will be considered in sampling unit. The next one is make a source list. How we are going to collect, how much sample size, whether it comes under your interest area. Whatever title you decide, you must ensure that it depends upon your interested area. The next step is the budgetary constraint. And the last one is select suitable sampling procedure. So steps in sample design: identify the universe, identify geographical area, how we are going to proceed, source list, how much sample size, whether it is in your interest area, will it comes under your budgetary constraint, and next one is suitable sampling procedure. The next we are going to discuss about the main characteristics of sample. The first and foremost characteristics of sample is representative of universe. It must be representative of universe. It should be free from bias. Essential of good sample is adequacy, in the sense that the sample size must be adequate. The sample must enable us to measure sample error. It should not be too long. The result of good sample should be applicable to all items of the universe with a reasonable level of confidence. So characteristics: it must be representative of the universe, free from bias, collect adequate detail, able to measure sample error, should not be too long, and it must be applicable to all the items of the universe. The next slide about errors in sampling. Errors in sampling, there are 2 types: sampling error and non-sampling error. Sampling error, biased and unbiased. Biased error means biasness, partiality from the researcher's side. It is arise from any biasness, partiality in selection and collection of information. Whenever the sample size increase, biased error also increase. It is otherwise called cumulative error or non-compensating error. Unbiased error, it arises due to change in difference unknowingly. I'll give an example. If you are collecting detail about customer satisfaction towards shoe users, you have collected from few respondents. After collecting detail, you came to know few of the respondents not at all used the shoes. It is unknowingly included as a sample. It is not the partiality or biasness from the researcher's side. Unknowingly, it is included in your study. It is called unbiased error. It is otherwise called non-cumulative or compensating error. Whenever sample size increase, this sort of error decrease. So biased error, whenever sample size increase, biased error also increase. Unbiased error, whenever sample size increase, unbiased error decrease. Non-sampling error, it occurs both census and sampling technique. It also increase when the sample size increase. Non-sampling error occurs due to some reasons. Data collection may be inconsistent, inappropriate method of interview, lack of training and experienced investigator due to non-response, errors in data classification, typologic error. Apart from sample, everything comes under non-sampling. Typology mistake, data classification mistake, inappropriate method of interview, data collection inconsistent, everything comes under non-sampling error. There are some questions for discussion. If you are collecting data from all the employees in a company, how do you define your sample design? If you are collecting data from all the employees in a company, how do you define your sample design? I hope you can answer this question. The answer is census survey. Census means a complete enumeration of all items. That is why the government using the word census while collecting details about the entire population. If you are doing project about employee satisfaction, there are 80 employees in a company. If you are collecting detail from all the 80 employees, then the sample is called census survey. Okay, let us discuss about the second question. As a researcher collected detail with some biasness, will it call this error? If so, what sort of? As a researcher collected detail with some biasness, will it called as error? If so, what sort of? If you are following inappropriate method of interview, is it a mistake? If you are following inappropriate method of interview, is it a mistake? Try to answer the questions. If you have any clarification, please command me. Before I conclude this session, a small recap. Researchers should understand the research jargons. Sample is preferred. Then if homogeneous sample must be small. If heterogeneous sample is preferred, then sample size must be large. Result of good sample should be applicable to all items of the universe with reasonable level of confidence. On this note, I end my session. Thank you for watching.